Hello coin collectors and welcome to the DC Coin World International Coin Channel, and this is it, the 1975 1-cent coin from the United States of America. You see at the top it says "In God We Trust," and if we look at this, one of the things we look at with pennies is how close is this writing to the rim. If we're looking for something to be special or interesting about a penny, we see that this has plenty of spacing all the way around it. When we actually magnify the penny, we see that it looks like it was struck pretty well too. Lots of spacing, a little tiny bit of doubling up there, but I'm not a big believer in doubling, so whatever. I usually don't, I don't really understand doubling that much, so I just kind of keep moving on unless it's something that's so pronounced that it gets my attention. So we have Lincoln here. He's facing to the right. It says Liberty behind him, 1975 under his chin. That's where the year is. Now right down here is where the mint mark would be if there was a mint mark on this coin. Of course, in 1975, there were 3 mint marks. There was the, well, 2 mint marks and a blank. So this is the blank. Philadelphia had no mint mark in 1975. There was no P there. Denver had a D in 1975. And San Francisco had an S in 1975. Now, 1975 is a good year if you have the S, because that's the first year of the San Francisco proof coins. If you have a 1974, however, you could have either a proof coin or a general circulation coin. So the S became proof only in 1975. So that's one reason that many collectors kind of look for this year. If we tip it up, we see that it has a smooth edge. And then if we get to the back, we see that it is indeed the Lincoln Memorial. This is actually a pretty good, other than this black spot on here, a pretty good version of the memorial. You can see Lincoln in there. He's seated in that statue, which is in the Lincoln Memorial, way in the back. And you can see the planters here and the kind of the shrubbery here. And way over the side here, you see an F and a G. And that, of course, is for Frank Gasparro, who many of you know famously as the one who did the Eisenhower dollar with the eagle landing on the moon. And Frank Gasparro was the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint for years and did great work. It says United States of America at the top, E pluribus unum here, and 1 cent here. Now, if we flip it over, we can also see way down in here, there's some indentations here, and it's hard to see on this particular coin, but that's a V, that's a D, and that's a B. And that's for the original designer of this coin. In 1909, this was engraved by Victor David Brenner. And that's the VDB that's way down in here. And you can just see, you can kind of see it bumping over the edge here. If you get a good, really good condition penny, you'll be able to see that VDB pretty well. And if you go back to the 1909 pennies, you'll see that it's in a different spot. And the VDB is what makes it valuable. If it has it or doesn't have it, that's the choice you have to make on that one in terms of what's valuable and what's not. So, is this coin valuable in any way? Well, unfortunately not. This coin in 1975, well, let me start with, in 1975, they made over 10 billion pennies, or 1-cent coins in the United States of America. Whenever you make 10 billion of anything, it's hard for it to be rare. How much was 10 billion in 1975? In 1975, the world population was only 4 billion. So they made about 2.5 of these pennies for every person in the world. So if we look at the 1975, we're not going to... What about the U.S. population then? Because they weren't using them all over the world. But the U.S. only had 216 million people in 1975. So if we're looking at the U.S. population, they made about more than 50 of these for every... No, 500 of these, I'm sorry, for every citizen of the United States. So they're all over the place, and they're hard to get an expensive one. Well, you say, well, okay, that's how many pennies they made, but how many Philadelphia pennies did they make in 1975? And it turns out in 1975, they made enough pennies so everybody in the United States could have 2. In 1975, the Philadelphia Mint made 5.5 billion. 5.5 billion of these were made for the Philadelphia Mint. So if we only had 16 million people, that essentially means that about 26 or 2700 of these for each person. So these aren't going to be rare, and they're not rare. It's a nice coin. It's 45 years old, so it's nice to put in your collection. It is, of course, 3.11 grams. It's a bronze coin, 95% copper, 5% either zinc or tin. And it's not valuable. It's not going to be valuable, but I still think if you find one in your change, it's certainly worth keeping. Okay, that's all we have today from DC Coin World International Coin Channel. Keep looking for coins. Look through your change if you ever get a change anymore. I know in COVID, in post-COVID, we're moving to not having money used in our hands anymore, but if you find any pennies, look through them and look for all the signs, and maybe you'll get lucky and get one that's worth more than 1 cent. This one here is probably worth 5 cents, but that's about it. Have a great day from DC Coin World International Coin Channel.